He was the chosen one. A filmmaker once crowned the heir to Spielberg, the guy who could breathe life into dying franchises, charm critics, rake in billions at the box office, and still have time to toss a few lens flares into every scene for good measure. For over a decade, J.J. Abrams was untouchable. Mission Impossible, Star Trek, Star Wars, he wasn't just directing films. He was shaping cultural juggernauts, reviving sacred Hollywood relics, and turning nostalgia into cold hard cash. Studios worshipped him, audiences trusted him, and then it all fell apart. One movie, one overstuffed, overcorrected, overpromised disaster, and the House of Abrams came crashing down. This isn't just a fall from grace, it's one of the most high-profile implosions in modern cinema. Jeffrey Jacob Abrams was born into the business, literally. His father, Gerald Abrams, was a television producer. His mother, Carol Ann Abrams, worked as an executive and producer as well. This wasn't some wide-eyed kid with a dream and a camcorder in Ohio. JJ was born in Los Angeles, went to private schools, and had access to the entertainment industry from a young age. But to be fair, the guy had passion. A lot of it. As a teenager, Abrams was making amateur movies with his childhood friend, Matt Reeves. Yes, the future director of the Batman. The two of them ran around with Super 8 cameras, making horror films with homemade special effects and over-the-top action scenes. These weren't just hobby projects, they were entries into film festivals, early signs of ambition, the kind of obsessive love for filmmaking that, at the time, screamed future director. And then, fate knocked on the door in the most Hollywood way possible. In 1982, Steven Spielberg, yes, that's Spielberg, was looking for someone to help restore some of his old Super 8 home movies. His assistant at the time? A young Kathleen Kennedy. She read an article about two high school kids making a name for themselves in amateur filmmaking. You already know who those two kids were. Spielberg called, Abrams and Reeves said yes. And just like that, a connection was forged that would shape Abrams' career forever. This wasn't just a dream gig, it was a blessing from the patron saint of blockbuster cinema. Spielberg became a mentor, a guiding figure. And for Abrams, this wasn't just inspiring, it was aspirational. He didn't just want to make movies, he wanted to be Spielberg. The next one, the modern one. And for a while, it looked like he might actually get there. JJ's big break didn't come through film, it came through television. In the early 90s, he was doing low-tier writing jobs. His first feature screenplay, Taking Care of Business, a forgettable Jim Belushi comedy from 1990 that flopped with critics and audiences alike. But Abrams kept working, building a reputation as a guy who could write quickly, collaborate well, and pitch like a pro. In 2001, Abrams co-created Alias, a fast-paced spy thriller starring Jennifer Garner. It was flashy, twisty, and action-packed, with a female lead at the center during a time when that was still somewhat novel for the genre. Alias was a hit. It lasted 5 seasons, built a cult following, and established Abrams as a showrunner to watch. Then came the big one, Lost. Premiering in 2004, Lost was a cultural phenomenon. A plane crash on a mysterious island, a huge ensemble cast, secrets, flashbacks, smoke monsters, Dharma Initiative bunkers. The mystery box formula that Abrams loved so much was now on full display. And it worked. Oh, it really worked. People were obsessed. Forums lit up. Theories exploded. JJ had struck narrative gold. But here's the problem. Abrams left the show after the first season. He handed it off to Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, leaving behind a story filled with unanswered questions and convoluted plot threads. And as many fans know, Lost collapsed under the weight of its own ambition. The ending was a disaster. The legacy? Complicated. But for Abrams, the message was clear. He was brilliant at starting things. He just didn't stick around long enough to finish them. Keep that in mind. By 2006, Abrams was ready to make the jump to feature directing. Paramount handed him the keys to Mission Impossible 3, a franchise that had lost momentum after a critically panned second film. The result? Solid. Nothing revolutionary, but a tightly made action thriller that grounded the franchise and gave it legs again. Tom Cruise was happy. The studio was happy. And most importantly, audiences showed up. Abrams had proved he could handle a big-budget Hollywood movie, so Paramount gave him a much bigger task: resurrect Star Trek. The franchise was stagnating. The last few movies had bombed. The TV shows were losing steam. Star Trek needed a miracle. And in 2009, Abrams delivered a reboot that brought the franchise back to life. With a twist. He didn't aim for cerebral science fiction. He didn't go for philosophical depth or political allegory. No. Abrams gave audiences a slick, modernized version of Star Trek. A shiny, fast, loud action movie with young hot actors, massive set pieces, and yes, more lens flares than you could count. Fans were divided, purists hated it, but the box office told a different story. It was a hit. Then came the sequel, Into Darkness, 2013. And this is where the cracks began to show. It was derivative, it was lazy, it rehashed Wrath of Khan, arguably the best Trek movie ever made, but stripped out the nuance and replaced it with surprise, more running, yelling, explosions, and plot twists that made no sense. Still, the movie made money. So no one asked too many questions. Abrams had officially become the go-to guy for franchise CPR. And that's when Disney called. In 2012, Disney bought Lucasfilm for over $4 billion, and they wanted Star Wars back in theaters as fast as humanly possible. Kathleen Kennedy was now president of Lucasfilm, and she knew exactly who to call. J.J. Abrams. In 2015, The Force Awakens hit theaters, and to its credit, it accomplished what it set out to do. It revived Star Wars after the prequel era. It reignited fan excitement, it made $2 billion. But narratively, it was a carbon copy of A New Hope with better CGI. Stormtroopers, Death Stars, mysterious orphans, grumpy Han Solo, desert planets, X-Wings, rebels, empires. You've seen it all before. The nostalgia was heavy. The pacing was quick. The mystery boxes were everywhere. Who are Rey's parents? Who's Snoke? Where did the map to Luke come from? Don't worry about it. JJ planted 1,000 seeds, and then walked away. He had done his job, rebooted the franchise, made Disney rich, and left the mess for someone else to clean up. Enter Rian Johnson. In 2017, The Last Jedi broke the fandom in half. Johnson took the narrative baton and threw it into hyperspace. He deconstructed characters. He burned down JJ's mystery boxes. He told fans to let the past die. And while some critics loved it, the backlash was brutal. The movie was divisive, controversial, loud. And whether you loved or hated it, one thing was certain. There was no plan. Disney had no roadmap for the trilogy. Each director was winging it. And now, the house JJ had built was in flames. So in a panic, Disney did the unthinkable. They brought Abrams back. Imagine being handed $1 billion franchise in complete chaos and being told, fix it. That was JJ's job on The Rise of Skywalker. But instead of rising to the challenge, he retreated to his worst instincts. He tried to please everyone. And in doing so, he pleased almost no one. The story was incoherent. Characters were undeveloped, emotional payoffs fell flat. And then there was the line, somehow, Palpatine returned. That one sentence became the perfect symbol for the entire trilogy, lazy, hollow, and desperate. The movie flopped by Star Wars standards, critics torched it, fans were united in disappointment. And the sequel trilogy, once full of potential, ended not with a bang but a confused shrug. And JJ? He vanished. Since 2019, J.J. Abrams hasn't directed a single movie. He hasn't written a new screenplay. He's been attached to dozens of projects. Superman, Justice League Dark, Zatanna, a new Star Trek entry, but none of them have come to fruition. Studios have grown cautious, audiences have grown wise. The mystery box formula doesn't work anymore when people expect you to actually open the box. Here's the thing about J.J. Abrams. He's not a hack. He's talented in many ways. He's great at casting, he understands visual energy, he knows how to build excitement. But he was never a visionary. He wanted to be Spielberg, but he lacked Spielberg's heart, discipline, and storytelling precision. He's closer to Michael Bay, albeit with better PR. He excels in setup, not payoff. He can sell an idea, but finishing it? That's another story. Maybe there's still a path to redemption. He has a new project called Ghost Machine in the works, a fantasy film with a solid cast. And maybe that's where JJ belongs. Not saving franchises, but making solid mid-budget action films that don't pretend to be more than they are. Because when you try to be the next Spielberg without the substance to back it up, eventually people see through the lens flare. If you enjoyed this deep dive, leave a like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you don't miss a future upload. Because in Hollywood, legends rise, and sometimes they crash harder than the Millennium Falcon after JJ writes the script. Thanks for watching. Now go away, or don't. I'm not your producer.